What a game from Albertson Field, everyone. Welcome to the Sidelines UCF post-game analysis of the UCF versus Boise State game. You're joined by your interns today, Nick Williams, as well as Andrew Cherico. And let's get the elephant out of the room already. Yes, there's a Tennessee flag here. Our fearless leader over at Sidelines UCF is yet to send me the flag. It's on the way, I'm sure of it. So for now, that's going to stay here. But that game last night, guys, that's the type of college football games you live for. That's the type where you're sitting in front of the TV screen. You don't know what's going to happen. The final 2 minutes of the game are just exhilarating. So first, we're going to hear Andrew Cherico's thoughts on the entire game. You'll hear mine, as well as we'll grade the teams. We'll grade the special teams, defense, offense, coaches, and just give our overall thoughts. So Andrew, take it away.
How's it going, UCF Nation? Thank you, Nick, for introducing me. And man, oh man, what a game that was. I'm so excited to bring you our second post-game analysis. This one, I watched the game on a train on the way back to New York. So I had sketchy Wi-Fi, but that didn't stop me from writing my notes down. First things first, let's talk about JRP. Let's make sure he's okay. Let's pray that he's okay. That's the number one priority. From what I saw last game, that may have been his best performance as a Knight. In my opinion, the stats don't show it, but he really did have a great game. He got the ball downfield effectively, efficiently, and he didn't throw any turnover-worthy passes. Credit to Steven Leonard. I saw that on Twitter. He had 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, but it 100% should have been vice versa. And I also credit that to our red zone play calling. Man, we have a top-tier defense. Just run it down the middle. We didn't need to do the fancy end arounds. We didn't need to go left, right, left, right. We have a really dominant running back room in R.J. Harvey, Johnny Richardson, and even JRP. We know he loves to be athletic. Let him jump over the line if he has to for the touchdown. Let him jump over the line for the first down. QB sneak. Why did we leave that? QB sneak is one of the most go-to plays in football history. There's nothing better than getting the ball right under the center and just moving an inch forward. That's all we needed to do, and that cost us a lot of plays, and in my opinion, cost us JRP's injury. Because had we gotten the ball in that end zone as many times as we were in the red zone, JRP would not have been in a situation where he needed to put his football career on the line for the fans that he loves, for the team that he loves, and for the city that he loves. I'm not one to call out bad play, but the receivers definitely needed to step up. The drop passes, we're in college football. I understand drop passes happen, and I'm not one to call out bad play, you know? I don't play the sport. I understand how hard it can get, but in college football, we need to grab those balls. Let's be honest. And I'm specifically speaking about Javon Baker and Kobe Hudson in that situation. We need to grab that touchdown pass. That puts us over this game. Although we won 18-16, and it feels like we just barely won, we should have been winning that game by 14 plus, and that's the honest truth. Last note I want to make about the offense is, can we talk about that last drive? JRP, it almost made me emotional after he got injured, because I saw him limping on the field after handing it off twice. I knew it didn't look good. He was just fighting out there. But that last drive, he kept us alive more times than I can count. There was this one very underrated play that's not getting talked about enough. It was 2nd and 15. He scrambled right. There was nothing there, and it looked like he was just going to toss it out of bounds. It would have been 3rd and 15 after that situation. And he just sidearmed it down the sideline and got us into a 3rd and 1 situation. I don't exactly remember who caught the ball right there, but that was a great catch, and it was an even great effort from JRP. Man, did he come to play, and I'm so happy that he showed us what he can do, and he gained a lot of fans. He gained a lot of fans' respect from this game, because there was a lot of people doubting his ability, myself included. I was doubting if he could even get the ball downfield, but from what I saw, from the deep balls he got to Kobe Hudson, which, I wanted to say, our receivers played fine. It was just those two drop passes that hurt, but those are the most important things you have to worry about. But yes, outside of JRP's drop passes, it was just a beautiful game by him, and I'm praying that he comes back. Because no offense to Timmy McClain, but JRP is my quarterback one, and from what I saw, he can do great things for us in this Big 12 season. So let's hope. Let's hope. Okay, Now, I want to move on to the defensive notes. I believe the defense started really shaky. There were times where I feel like receivers were getting wide open. Our run defense was being exposed. I definitely feel like our D-line left a lot to be desired this game. There was times where we were letting them run for 10, 15 yards a run, which is unacceptable from our D-line, which is supposed to be one of our strongest facets on this defense. Outside of two huge sacks from Trayvon Morris-Brash and Malachi Lawrence, our D-line definitely left a lot to be desired. But can we talk about Corey Thornton's game? Man, oh man, did he have himself a game. I was so happy to see the interception that he got. Even more excited to see that pass block, which is such an underrated play. It was 3rd and long, and that could have been a huge momentum shift for the entire game. And he just got a couple fingertips on it, diving backwards. It changed the course of the game for sure. And I loved that Corey Thornton had such a big impact on this game. Definitely look out for him next game. He's CB1. There's a lot of talk saying that, he's inconsistent and he lets up a lot of yards. And in reality, it happens. Being a cornerback, he's not a top cornerback, but he's our cornerback one, and he will make big plays, especially on the ball. So I was super happy to see that. And lastly, let's talk about the special teams. UCF fans, if you don't know his name, you know his name now. Boomer! Let's go, man. I am so happy. He honestly, in my opinion, is the most exciting player whenever he gets on the field. Everybody gets ready for his field goals. He had 4 field goals, and without him, we're not winning this game. That's just straight up honest. Without him, if we had another kicker, he wouldn't have made all 4. He had 4 field goals, 2 from 50 yards or deep, including the walk-off. Are you kidding me? That was more than exhilarating to watch. I am so happy that he had this great impact. I love Colton. And man, can we talk about that final field goal? If you saw my post on Twitter, you saw that I rewinded very narrowly, that the ball was going wide, and it just took a right turn, and we were simply blessed. Great kick by him. Simply blessed for that field goal to go in. There was no other kicker who would have made that, and he is going to the league. Mark that down, 100%.
So first off, let me just start with the offense. You had JRP, who had a very solid game if we're going to be honest with ourselves. 272 yards. He was 6 for 24 on completions. Now, the only thing is those 2 interceptions. I mean, first drive of the game, 3 plays in, we have a pick from JRP in the red zone. I mean, what's new, you might be thinking. But, I mean, that was a bobbled pass. Both of the interceptions in this game from JRP came off bobbled passes. So is it really all on JRP? It could be taken that way. I feel like Kobe Hudson and Javon Baker, who were the 2 players that kind of bobbled with the ball to get the interception for Boise State, they could be at blame. But I feel like at the end of the day, JRP needs to be landing it right where it needs to be, accuracy and everything. I'm a big JRP guy, by the way. And speaking of JRP, not looking great. It's not looking great at all. If you were able to watch the game, you were able to see that left leg bend back. It had me, my entire family, my friends who were all watching the game. We were scared. And I'm scared for next weekend, especially if Timmy McClain has to come in. We're going to be going up against the Big 12 champions here, guys, Kansas State. It's a little nerve-wracking, I'm not going to lie to you, but let's focus on this game at hand. John Rice Plumlee, great production, as I said, very solid production. He led the team in rushing yards. He had 11 carries, 73 yards. Absolutely incredible. He had his longest rushing was 17 yards, very solid for JRP. But as I mentioned last week, with our rushing unit, RJ Harvey was probably going to get more carries in this game. Rather, you had, Johnny Richardson last game getting a lot more carries. Not a lot more carries, but a lot more yards. And this game, RJ Harvey had 15 carries, which I kind of foreseen happening. He had 70 yards rushing, which was better than all of our running backs. And also Johnny Richardson, he's still looking like the solid RB2. I mean, 11 carries, 62 yards. His longest was 31-yard rush. Absolutely insane. When it comes to receiving, though, Kobe Hudson, I don't know if you guys remember, but last post-game analysis, we were all talking about Xavier Townsend, who played an incredible game against Kent State, 100 yards receiving. This game, but he only had 5 yards. So it's funny to see how things can switch like that. But when you're dealing with your wide receiver ones and wide receiver twos, who you're supposed to be throwing to your main targets, it's going to look more like this. Kobe Hudson, 5 receptions, 134 yards. He was averaging 26.8 yards per carry. Absolutely insane. As well as Javon Baker, 4 receptions, 73 yards. He was averaging 18.3. A lot of good offensive production from our receiving core. Whereas with UCF's fumbles, we didn't have any fumbles this game, which was absolutely great to see, especially from last game whenever Kent State was able to punch that ball out. We weren't dealing with that with Boise State. It was more with picks, unfortunately. But with the defensive unit, let's just jump right into that. Jason Johnson, he had 8 total tackles, which was absolutely great for him. It was a great production from Jason Johnson this game. John Seliskar, obviously, he's always going to be in the talks. I feel like he's one of our best on the defensive unit. He had 7 total tackles, which was great. But let's talk about Tremont Morris-Brash. 3 tackles for loss, guys. 3 tackles for loss. He led the team in tackles for loss. He has been just these past 2 games. Our defense is actually very solid. When you look at the numbers, you have Kent State, who we held to 6 points. You have Boise State, who we held to 16. They even had 19 points on Washington. I know that our offense wasn't the best compared to Washington, but Boise State, we were able to hold them to 16 points, which is pretty good for our defense. So I give them a lot of credit. Now, there were points in time where they let the receivers go from Boise State. You had that 34-yard reception that came pretty early in the game. It wasn't a pretty sight to see. That's whenever they were up 7, we were down by 6. It wasn't the best, but Corey Thornton on our defense was able to snag that interception. It's looking like hopefully every game we can have a guy who's out there getting a pick for the team. You'll have to see it. But let's talk now about something very special to me. The guy that won this game here. Let's talk about our kicking unit, Colton Boomer. At all the games, you go boom every time he gets up there. And he's our guy. I'm sure Andrew's going to talk about that in his thing. He definitely is our guy. And I love seeing everything that he does. He was 4 for 4 from field goals. Colton Boomer, he did have a career-long 55-yard field goal. And before that, he also had a career-long field goal, which was a 50-yarder. But the 55-yarder also tied the longest in UCF history. So Colton Boomer is looking to be one of the greatest kickers for UCF's entire history, which is awesome to see for any fan. He definitely is the main reason we won this game. Obviously, he got the 40-yard field goal at the very end of the game. But props to JRP, man. That 56-yard drive or however long it was very, very crucial to us winning that game. He did go out with that little injury. He didn't even really go out with it. He was stumbling along, but you could see that was a factor. But with our touchdown production, not that great this game. We had 1 touchdown, which was RJ Harvey, who also had a touchdown last game. He should have had 2 last game, but he was the only scorer for UCF this game, which, it's solid. We should really have some more touchdown productions, which we had that one in the red zone, which should have been, a touchdown, not a pick, as I mentioned before. But this game was close. This game was exhilarating. Like I said at the beginning, it's everything that a college football fan could really ask for in a football game. We were able to go to their home on the blue turf. We had that whole discussion about if Coach Malzahn was going to coach a practice at that one high school with a blue turf. I don't think he did. And we were able to go in here, and they wore the blue uniforms, which was just not cool of them at all. I don't know why they did that to us. They really were trying to get in our heads, but we obviously were able to pull away with a win. We start 2-0 in our inaugural Big 12 season, which is just awesome to say.
And now moving on to the grades for the game. In my opinion, the offense gets a C-. We only scored 18 points. And we weren't lifeless. That's why we didn't get a D, because I would give a D if we were lifeless. We weren't lifeless. We efficiently moved that ball up and down the field. All credit to JRP. But we couldn't get it in the end zone. And that's are going to be unacceptable against big-time defenses. There is no way that we should have as many red zone trips as we did and only come away with 18 points. That's plain and simple. And now on the defensive side, I want to give the defense an A-. Yes, A- because we still held them to 16 points on the blue turf at their season opener. In my opinion, that's a great defensive performance. Yes, in the first half I said we looked shaky, but the defense really tuned in, especially the secondary. Big plays. Of course, there were some holding plays that got Boise State's offense pushed back, but that's not without credit to the pressuring of the D-line and the great plays that were made by the UCF D-backs. So definitely A- for them. And going on to the special teams, A++. Oh my God. Without that game, without the game they had, including Mitch McCarthy, because he had some good punts that got him back in good position. Without our special teams, we lose 0-18. Yes, we can say R.J. Harvey scored the touchdown, but in reality, we weren't moving the ball in the red zone. Let's be honest. We got that by the thin of our teeth, because after we scored the touchdown, we went for a 2-point conversion, and it was another end and round. What was it? Incomplete. Didn't happen. It was only when we ran right down the middle that we scored, and I don't know why we didn't continue to do it. So yes, special teams, A++. Colton Boomer, you are that guy. I love you. Hopefully you see this, because man, what a game that was. You were so fun to watch. And lastly, I would like to go to the coaches' play calling. I give the coaches a D. Man, I can't. I sound like a broken record. Please stop the end arounds. Please stop the fancy stuff. We're a hard grit and grind team. Let's run it down the middle like we're supposed to. We don't have Isaiah Bowser, but please, come on. I know we can do better. JRP, he can run it down the middle, catch it right under the center. Harvey, more than capable. Johnny Richardson, more than capable. We shouldn't have to rely on end arounds for 4th and 1s and 3 and 1s, especially in the red zone when you know it's time for points. I would like to do an honorary player of the game, and that 100% goes to JRP. He risked everything for us. He showed great improvement. He loves the fans. We love him. Definitely going to JRP. I can't wait till he gets back on the field. We don't know the diagnosis yet, but let's hope it's okay. Now, that's when we move on to the keys for the Villanova game. Yes, we're playing a not-so-competitive Villanova team, but that doesn't mean we can't play hard. We still have to play hard, play our tradition of grit and grind football. Let's show that we don't need to get too flashy to score. I also want to say we need to run that ball. Let's make Timmy McClain's life easier. We liked what we saw at the 4th quarter of the Kent State game from him. We liked it. Can he do it an entire game? Let's see. Let's see if his nerves get to him. We don't know. So that's why we need to run the ball, set up Timmy McClain to make some easy 2nd and short throws, easy 3rd down throws, and let's make his life easier. In my opinion, the defensive line is going to step up 100%. We're going to see a ton of pressures, a ton of sacks this game, because they're mad from last game. I can tell they didn't do enough. They didn't do as much as they wanted to. So we're definitely going to step up. Let's get ready for 3-0. That's my prediction. Thank you so much for watching this entire analysis. If you enjoyed, please make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and comment on what you thought. And we'll see you on the sidelines. Go Knights.
Charge on.